What's going on? This is Gengar's watch list, and I've seen a few other videos about this one already. If you have watched episode 7 of Dan to Dan, you know that this time it was a much more serious episode, not the level of humor and everything that we've gotten in prior episodes. I mean, I am not afraid to admit that my eyes were tearing up during this one. This one was a tough watch for sure, but it shows you the variety that you are getting with this show and the quality that you are getting with it, and how you can have these scenes that are super high action followed by scenes that are really funny, followed by scenes that are just like gut wrenching. And so this one had, I mean, kind of had all of them, but definitely the thing that sticks with you in this episode were those more gut wrenching scenes. And yeah, I mean, again, if you've watched it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched it yet, we're going to talk about this. And, I recommend going and checking out this episode. So this is the kind of how the episode opens up, and we know the last episode finished with Ira and Okarun and Momo getting kind of like spit back out of the spirit, and so now they've got to fight, and so they've got to fight to try to defeat this spirit. And so the thing that they start doing is they basically just start running all over this warehouse that they're in, and basically like entangle the spirit's hair and everything. And ultimately what ends up happening is they tie up the spirit, and Okarun ends up transforming into his spirit form and gives a full frontal attack on this spirit, and ends up basically defeating this spirit. Now, soon after that, we see here that he's there with Ira, and we've got Turbo Granny sitting there, and Turbo Granny goes over to Ira and finds the golden ball. So Okarun now has his golden ball back, like one of them, one of two. But this is where we also are told that Ira is dead. So she has died during this event, and we're told that it likely happened when she was swallowed by the spirit. That these two, Momo and Okarun, have high spiritual power, and so they were able to survive this, but she did not. Then we have the spirit just that comes back, but it's basically pretty rough shape, but it is offering to bring Ira back to life, basically offering up its aura or connecting its aura to hers. And then that's going to effectively like jump start her. I don't know if you'd call it her soul or whatever it might be to bring her back. Now, I don't know if in the future this is going to ultimately end up giving her powers or what, but this is what really leads us to the really tough scenes to watch in this episode. So here we've got Momo is basically acting as a conduit. She's connecting Ira's aura to this spirit's, and through this, now we start to see the history of how the spirit came to be. And this is where, like we said, this is where we start to get the visualization of the people that are behind these spirits. And this is something that's, I'd say, quite a bit different with this one. The spirits aren't just evil. You actually are getting a history of them. And so here is, the woman that ultimately becomes the spirit. And we start to get a picture of what her life is like, like what her daily life is like, what she's going about, and some of the basic struggles that she's dealing with. And at first, we don't, I feel like we don't think too much about it. It's like, okay, she gets up, she goes to work. She ends up, when she's going through, she ends up seeing this dress. So you see this dress in the window, which obviously we recognize as the dress that the spirit is wearing. And now I think a lot of us, we figure there was maybe something with a child that was related to this spirit because of how she reacted to Ira when Ira was a child. But we now learn that we're going to see a very difficult story. Like, we just know it's happening because this child here obviously is still alive, and something is going to happen. Now we don't know what. at this stage, we don't know, is it going to be like a car accident, or is it going to be an illness, or something that's going to end up taking her away? And we really have no idea at this stage. And so now the interesting thing here is that there's no lines in this section of the anime. There's no speaking. It's really just going through their daily lives, what they're doing, and you just have some, some music playing in the background, and it's cycling through different videos and images of what they're doing. You can see, the mother and child, very happy in there. She's teaching her to dance, which is where we get the acrobatic Silky from, the spirit and everything, and kind of that background that goes with it. She probably has some, background in dance, and we just get a picture of this happy life that they have, and it's going to end poorly. And that's what's you don't know when it's coming, but it's coming. This is just showing the work that she's doing. We know that she's working at least two jobs. She's a janitor here. They also have a scene where they show her working at like a quick mart or grocery store or something like that. And so she's struggling to make ends meet, but she's able to, put some money together, and ultimately she ends up buying that dress for her daughter. So just more throughout their lives where you're seeing what's going on, and it's kind of like you're building a connection to these characters while this is happening, while also knowing that something terrible is going to happen as well. And that is what occurs right after this. And so what we ultimately see happen is that we don't know what the relation is, but there's like two thugs basically that break into her apartment. We don't know why, if they followed her, or if she had borrowed money, or we don't know. And so they attack her, and she gets all cut up on some glass and everything that's in her apartment, like falling on through kind of like a glass window, and blood gets on the pictures in there. And then what happens is they grab her daughter. And so they grab her daughter, and they're basically just, we don't know what happens to the daughter after this, just that she has been taken away, and that this woman is extremely injured and hurt. She's been gashed across her face. She's got, these cuts all over her arms and everything. And one of the things that I'm not clear on is, did she die at that stage, or is she's still alive? Are we seeing the spirit run out after her, or are we seeing her actually run out? And I think it's her. I think she's still alive at this stage. And this was a scene we saw right at the beginning of this episode. We didn't know what it was. We didn't have any context for it, but we see it again. And we know that this is what I believe is her still alive, running outside after she's regained consciousness, trying to chase down these people that have taken her daughter. And so it's raining outside, and it's just this dark, gloomy scene that she's moving through. And so then we get to a point where she's basically seems to have lost her mind. This is where one of those things that I'm not quite sure, that I think she's still alive. And I think this is effectively, she is at the top of a building, and she ends up jumping off the building and killing herself. Now, again, it's not totally clear, because you don't have anything that's really telling you that what's going on. You're watching these images and these videos kind of play through. And so I think at this point, she's kind of like lost her mind a little bit, and she just ends up jumping off this building and killing herself. Now we flash to the scene where we have Ira that had touched, this woman. And now this was one of the other things. I think she was already a spirit at this point, and Ira could see her. And that's, again, like, I don't read the manga, so I don't have any of that additional context, if there's any there. But it seems like she actually saw her as a spirit, that this was the woman that she called mommy, and she saw as a spirit. And this is when we get a little bit of history from Ira as well, and we learn that her mom has also passed away. Now, the reason I think that she was seeing a spirit is that the father in that scene didn't react to seeing this, like, kind of like really disheveled woman, like it's all cut up and bloody and everything. And so I think that Ira was just seeing this spirit, and we get this history with her that her mom is also, passed away as well. So not only do we get the background on this spirit, we also got the background on Ira. And now we get shown Momo, who has been basically seeing all this, like through transferring that aura between the spirit and Ira. We see Momo is like basically telling Okarun to stop, that to not attack her. and attack the spirit because she can see what the spirit has gone through and suffered through. And right after that, we see Ira get up. And so this has worked. This aura has passed into her. She has been, basically brought back to life, and now the spirit is starting to basically crumble away. And we're getting a little bit of this from Turbo Granny as she's kind of telling us what's going on. That the spirit is just basically going to disappear into nothing. Nobody's going to remember her. It's going to be a void, and it is a very upsetting scene to see. And so you can see that, here is where she's just kind of like, or the spirit is fading away, is crumbling away. And we're told that it can only really get closure by its own decision. It's basically letting itself crumble away through just how all these horrible things, and how the spirit thinks that its daughter had a horrible life and was always sad. And then we have Ira come up and just and hug this spirit, and basically is telling her that I imagine it's from the perspective of that child, that she was always happy when she was with her. It was the happiest times of her life, and it basically gives this spirit closure. And I mean, this whole sequence was so much more impactful than the when they were battling Turbo Granny, because we know that spirit was based on the women who had been assaulted and murdered, and that kind of led to all the anger and everything that built up that spirit. But we didn't get the background with it. You didn't see it happening. And with this, you saw the background. You saw it all happening, and it was. I mean, just me going back through and grabbing like screenshots like from this, like I was getting chills just from that. I mean, this like it's strange. Like you sometimes you don't think that some of these shows will get to you as much as they do, but there are certain ones that they can pull it out of you, and this was definitely one of them. And based on what I've seen from a few other people that have commented on this one as well, seems like that was generally pretty true across the board. But let me know in the comments, what did you think of this episode? Did it get to you as much as it got to me? Because yeah, this was a tough watch, but it was also well worth it. It was one of those that you want to see it, you want to go through it. And yeah, I really enjoyed this episode, and I am looking forward to what's coming next in this anime. But if you enjoyed this, remember to hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, all that kind of stuff, and I will see you on the next one.